morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. whatever already. This is Noise on 10. I want to start off first with an announcement. For starters, as of this episode and here on out, I am not going to be doing any sort of video broadcast. For those of you who saw episode 2, obviously something went completely horribly wrong trying to get my screen to render. And it was the weirdest thing. I use Sony Vegas 11, and for whatever reason, every time it got to footage where it actually showed my desktop, it would just freeze, lock up, no error. In fact, Sony Vegas thought it was still running, but if you look at the CPU meter, it was clearly stalled. It was just sitting there forever. I spent 3 days looking up how to salvage this, how to fix this, and I got nothing. I had absolutely nothing as to how to salvage that. So I ended up having to just cave in. I posted it up with just the "I'm sorry but nothing rendered right" message, and it was another mess. So from here on out, it's going to be all audio. There's going to be no visual component at all. Pretty much as podcasting should be. In addition, this is also going to be the first podcast to post on Podbean. I'll have more details as to what the feed will be after I've sorted all that out. I haven't finished it quite yet, but I know it's going to be under Eagle Falcon. I haven't really made the page yet, other than they had like a default little skin thing where it was all matrixy. So I just picked that for now. And we'll see how that shows up. And, with Podbean, I'll also be up on iTunes. This will also be the first episode that iTunes will get. So, all of you on iTunes, now you too can listen to a guy in Wisconsin rant about tech for no reason. Speaking of rant on tech for no reason, let's begin. I want to start off with anything that runs on Chrome OS. Chrome OS, for those who don't know, is technically it's an operating system. I have a hard time admitting that it's an operating system. The reason being is that it's extremely limited. Like, on Windows, I can do just about anything. I can play games, I can fire up a word processor, I can run software as old as I want it to on Mac OS. Same thing. I can load up apps, I can browse the web, I can do just about anything I want to. Even on versions of Linux, you can do just about anything you'd want. Any bit of computing you can think of, you can do with any other versions of operating system. And when I say Linux, I mean pretty much all of them. All the various distros. Ubuntu, Mint, any of them. Pick one. You can do what you can on any other operating system. Chrome OS is unique in the fact that it's a web browser. It is only a web browser. That's it. Well, that does mean you can use web apps. There's a lot of functionality that's missing in Chrome OS you can get from the web that you could get in Windows and such. But that's it. You're still limited. There you go. Everyone keeps asking me, shouldn't I get like a Chromebook for like my grandma or something just so you could go online? No, you should not. Unless you are a school or an IT department that has monkeys for staff, there is no reason for you to get a Chromebook, and especially no reason for you to get a Chromebox. To go over this in more detail, I pulled up a few from Dell. For those of you who aren't aware, Dell is the gold standard for average mundane computer. It just is. So, in front of me I have the page for the Dell Chromebox. We have two versions. We have a $150 Chromebox, and we have a $330 Chromebox. Both will include the first one, the $150 one, includes a 4th generation Intel Celeron processor, Haswell based, 2 gigs of RAM, a AC wireless network card. And that's basically it. There's no real hard drive, there's no real storage going on here. It's very, very basic. For $150. Do you know what you could get for $150? There's actually a little Intel stick. It looks like a thumb drive with an HDMI port on it instead. You could get that. Plug it into a TV or whatever you want. And that runs Windows 10. That already has more functionality than this Chrome box. And here you have the blessing of running a real operating system. The $330 version, the only advantage is that you've now got an Intel i3 base assembly. It actually doesn't even say what processor you'd get. I'll take a look deeper in a minute to see if that just means you can get if you can get a Core i3 out of a various option. But you do get 4 gigs of RAM. Ooh. Now granted, we are talking Chrome OS, so 2 and 4 gigs is more than enough to run this operating system. But who cares? It has less functionality than a smartphone. And going in deeper, it does not specify what the Core i3 is. It just still says Intel i3 base assembly. No details as to what exactly the processor is. No idea how much processing power you're actually getting. Not that it matters, because it's a Chrome box. Whoop-de-doo. And the price of $330? Go buy a tablet. Go buy an ARM tablet. Go buy an Android tablet. Go buy any tablet. Go buy a used iPad. Go buy a Honeycomb tablet that's really old. It doesn't matter. They can all do more than this Chrome box. And they have a screen included. These things annoy the crap out of me just for the fact that we can do better than this. Chrome OS was a nice little concept that Google came up with, but I hate to break it to you, it doesn't work in the real world. The only time this works is if I had 20 computers to hook up and just be like browsing Windows for a school. That's the only time it would work because I know there's no way the kids could mess this up. It's just a web browser, and the moment you hit that power button and reset it, any sort of damage they could have done to the operating system is gone because there basically is no operating system. That is easily the only advantage that exists with Chrome OS. Alright, now that I've finished saying Chrome OS so many times, I started slurring my S's. Let's move on. The next... actually, I do have more about the Chrome box. I'm not done yet. I'm not. There is actually one cute little thing that Dell did put up for the Chrome box. And that's actually for video conferencing. They have a lot of really cute accessories for this thing. You know, a little camera to hang up on top of it, a large speaker phone. This kind of really cool QWERTY remote. I really wish they'd sell this remote separately and just make it universal. That'd actually be kind of cool. But of course it's geared towards the business group, so tough luck. I would rather see some of this stuff in a consumer version. I mean, wouldn't that be a great set-top box? I mean, just look at it. This thing looks like, it looks like the remote, the top half of it looks like the remote that Apple now uses, with like a little trackpad and a mute button and a microphone button. And the opposite side is a full-size keyboard. This looks like what the new Apple remote should be, except Apple has a religious war against buttons. So adding 27 of them to the back of a remote would be kind of against their rule on buttons. But that's kind of cool. But that's it. You now have 2 use cases for a product. If you only have 2 use cases for a product, you're done. I can think of more use cases for a semi-truck. I can think of more than 2 use cases for a chip, really. So, we're going to move on to the Chromebooks. This is the one I get the most questions about. Because everyone sees a nice, shiny $400 brand new laptop and goes, wow, I can make this useful for something. Here's a spoiler. You can't! No matter how hard you try, you cannot make a good use case for it. Period. No matter how hard you try, no matter how many mental gymnastics you just did, I guarantee you could have spent this $430 on a better machine for more uses than whatever you just did mental gymnastics for, and that includes making a digital sign. You know, so let's go over the Dell Chromebook 13. It exists, the end. Okay, yeah, all kidding aside. We only have a 16 to 32 gig solid state drive. Not that you need it, because everything is web-based. Non-touch LCD. We've got a 67 watt per hour battery. Processor, pretty much across the board, is an Intel Celeron or a Core i3. Ultra low voltage. Ooh, I spoke too soon. There is a Core i5 ultra low voltage. Ooh. What else is there to say? It's a laptop that's inferior to every laptop. I've got old Dell Latitude D series over in the other room with a key missing that can do more than this. Has a bigger hard drive too, but that's not too hard. Again, the only advantage is the fact that the moment you shut it off, any sort of damage you did to the operating system is gone. History. Now, the Chromebook 11 is more something that people try harder to do, because it is a $250 laptop. And I know you've seen these at Best Buy. You go by the computer and say, ooh, a $200 laptop, what could I do with it? Well, if you've learned anything by now, here's the answer. Nothing! The correct answer is nothing! It's not hard. You can't do anything with it because all it is a web browser. And you already have a web browser in your pocket. It's called your phone. And pretty soon, the next answer is going to be it's on your watch. And same story here. In fact, it's all Celerons here. You have no option otherwise. 16 gigs of storage, SSD, Wi-Fi, non-touch LCD. Some of these have touchscreen LCD, but who cares? It's a laptop. For $250, you can go get a tablet and then have a touchscreen and then have the web browser. You can even download Chrome, and it'll be the exact same as this operating system, and then you can download Angry Birds with it. This isn't hard. Now, before you start emailing me, oh, but Eagle, you can go and get Angry Birds and this and that as Chrome apps. Who cares? If you're going to really do all that, then go get a tablet. It's still going to be more functional. Yes, there are some apps you can get with the Chrome OS. There are some useful apps you can get with the Chrome OS. But you know what you can't do? You can't do actual work. You can't run Microsoft Office on it, which is still, sorry to say, the industry standard. It's what all your schools are still going to use. No matter how hard your school tries, it is not going to be able to implement OpenOffice or flippin' Google Docs on here. And of course, if you don't have the internet, guess how much this laptop is functional? None of it. It is all web apps. Just because some of it is saved on there doesn't mean it's going to be functional. Because the moment you get offline, the only thing you're able to do is put on the Angry Birds app that you fortunately remembered to put on there when you were at home. And that's it. That's the end of the rant. We're done. I don't want to get any more emails about Chrome OS, and I don't want to talk about Chrome OS until the next $900 Chromebook comes out, in which I go, why? If I was going to pay $250 for a Chromebook, I'm sure as shit not going to spend $850 for a Chromebook. It's still useless, and you are still going to be better off spending your money on either a cheap new tablet or a good used laptop. Period. But while I was searching through Dell's site for some bare bones basic Chromebooks, and maybe there's no way HP, Acer, or any other manufacturer could possibly have a Chrome item or an item running Chrome OS that makes me go, wow, Chrome OS is suddenly useful. There isn't. I take that back. If you make a $50 stick with a USB attachment on it and an HDMI to make a digital... Actually, no, you can't, because Chrome OS doesn't support that. Never mind. Moving on. I did notice that Dell released their new Optiplex business line desktops. This is a line of product that has been dying very quickly. Because in the home world, we don't use our desktops really for anything. I have a professional workstation here because I render videos. I play high-end games. But nobody, underline nobody, keeps a desktop at home to browse the internet with. Nobody keeps a desktop at home just to type up a Word document or something. Nobody does. They have laptops now. Some people who think they're clever just have tablets doing it. They're not clever, by the way. Just get a laptop, you're going to be happier. So, there's an even less compelling argument to have a high-end desktop, a mid to high-end desktop doing word processing when the same series, the Latitude line, is just as powerful, more versatile, and the same cost. And you can even put it on a dock to even give you the illusion that it's a desktop. So the fact that they even keep the Optiplex line around is kind of interesting in itself, just because who buys these? I legitimately want to know who buys these. There's got to be someone out there, otherwise they wouldn't even bother. But there's 3 versions of it. There is a desktop form factor, which, is a small form factor, but it's just kind of slimmer. It's a little longer than the usual small form factor, but there's that. There's the mid-tower form factor, which, wow. When they designed the front of this thing, it looks like a normal mid-tower. So it stands about 14 inches tall. It's about 8 inches wide. About 14 inches deep. But the front panel of it has the optical disk drive facing vertically. And it's a slim desktop or laptop size CD-ROM drive. Why? Why is it like that? It just makes this huge gap that's literally blank space. Seriously, look up a picture of this. It's called the Dell Optiplex 740 Mid-Tower. Or MT for short. There's just this huge... in the middle of this thing, from the left, there's diamond grate, slim optical drive facing the wrong way. Power button above that. Blank solid space. And then the 4 USB ports, 2 of which are 2.0, 2 of which are 3.0. Boo, by the way. Very, very boo. It's 2015. If you're going to make a brand new desktop for your professional workers, just make them all 3.0s. The chipset does support it. It's not that hard. You're literally saving nothing by only making it 2.0s on the front. It's stupid. Your one audio jack... That's one thing that kind of annoys me, is that you only have... The audio jack is now the 3-section one. There's a professional term for it, but I'm not sure what it is. But it's those new sort of headphones that have a little mic in line with the earbuds. You just hook up one connection that powers both the mic and the earphones. But if you got one of the old style headsets, like I know quite a few do, that have both a microphone and a headphone jack, you can't use it. Or if you have the nice professional mic like I have, this nice blue one here, you have to use the USB option. You can't use the mic option. Here I actually do use a USB, just because the one I ended up getting didn't have the mic port on the back, but they do make the same model with the mic input. I just went for the USB because I wasn't sure if I was going to use it on my workstation or my laptop at the time. But the problem is there's just this huge white space. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for it. And all it does is just make me go, that's ugly, and I want to see the guts of this thing to see why they did it this way. And I tried, believe me, but this thing is so new, no one has a teardown of this thing yet. And most likely because the professional line, nobody will have a teardown of it. Not for a very, very long time. And, this is all using, pretty modern stuff. You got Skylake Core i5s across the board. You can probably upgrade it to an i7. I haven't looked yet. You may or may not. They start at 4 gigs, go up to 8. At least on the configured ones. It's all integrated Intel. Actually, let me go to the highest end one here and actually just quickly price one out. You can only go up to an i5. There's only the one option for what you pick. So that's obnoxious. Wait a minute. This doesn't actually let me customize anything. And now my page locked up. Awesome. Alright, so enough of that. It looks like you can't upgrade that. Okay, now I can. And now I can't? Screw it. I'm being distracted. There is a third form factor of these things, and this one actually interests me the most. And that's the micro PC. This thing is so cute. It's so adorable. It looks even smaller than the Chrome boxes. And it actually packs quite a punch inside. We've got a 6th generation Core i5 ultra-low voltage Skylake processor in there. We got 4 gigs of memory going all the way up to 8. You can have a 500 gig laptop hard drive in there, or you can go up to a 256 gig solid state. Or is it 128? It's like 128. But it is using laptop parts in there. So that's not too surprising considering its size. But in the pictures, they've got it actually kind of mounted under the desk. Like this adorable little, it kind of reminds me of like a little CB or something. Or like a little car radio, just kind of hidden under the desk. It's so cute. But that also has the diamond plate grill, very similar to what the Precision line has. And that's what the 740s have as well. They dropped their kind of slit ventilation and went to diamond grill. Which I liked on the Precision line. I don't on these. Just because it looks so half-assed. It just looks like, yeah, whatever, we'll just slap it on here. There's no real aesthetics to it. There's no real bend to it. That was one thing Dell actually did really well as they kept evolving the Optiplex line, was that it still stood out as its own. This is just kind of, yeah, here's a box with a grill on it. If you didn't know any better, it would look like a small car that looks like every car. I don't know why I went with the car analogy, because it doesn't look anything close to a car. I don't know what to call this. It just looks so bland. So boring. And it's such a disappointment. But that's that. It's all integrated Intel on the inside. Let me go into this one and see if I can customize it. Probably not. Well, let's go in. Okay, I found the one you can customize for the 740, so we'll see what I can do there. Alright, for the 740 tower, you can upgrade all the way up to a quad-core Core i7. You have an option between Windows 7 and Windows 10. You can go up to 32 gigs on the mid tower. You can dump up to a 2 terabyte drive in there. No solid state option in here, which is rather interesting. You would think in a business environment you would want to go with like a small network drive or a small solid state, just because all the storage would be done on a network server. And actually, the graphic card options they have here are actually surprisingly kind of impressive, really. You got an R5 340X, R5 340X, both of them are... Oh no, you can have dual R5 340Xs, so a little crossfire action going on there. It's just kind of okay. You can have an option for an R7 350X or a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 745. Not bad. You're definitely not going to be doing any sort of serious gaming, but it's actually kind of surprising that those options are even there, all things considered. You would think on an Optiplex at business line that you'd only have Fire Pro or Quadro options, but here we actually have some consumer and gaming grade graphic options. That's an interesting little surprise. Alright, so the customizable version, you only have the option of the Core i5, and the Core i5 is a quad-core. It does not say the clock speed, though. The processor model is an i5 6500T. I don't have the page for that processor up quite yet, but I might in a moment. Alright, the RAM's not upgradable. In fact, nothing's really upgradable. I thought this one said this was configurable. Let me actually quickly get that one. It's the Intel 6500T. Sorry about the clacking there. Bring up ARC. And we'll try the customizable version. Customizable, you can upgrade the processor all the way up to a 6700T at 2.8 gigahertz per core. And yeah, it's all mobile chips. RAM, you can go up to 16 gigs. You can go up to 128 gigs solid state on this one. It's interesting to me that you can't do that on the mid tower, but you can on the small form factor. In fact, the small form factor seems like the better way to go unless you want graphics. That's not happening on this. So no Steambox option action is happening there. But so those are cute little things in the business world. That probably affects none of you out there unless you are the rare corporate executive or IT guy that is listening to this for some reason. Can't think why you would. And just heard about that. That was just something that kind of really interested me. Especially the real adorable small form factor version of the 740. But that's that. I am way over because I got distracted by all that. So I'm going to have to take a quick break here. We'll be back in a moment. I have some computer wars for you. And I'll tell you what, I need to beat the snot out of Razer. We'll be back. Guys on Tech, my name is Phil Falcon. Welcome back. We didn't have one last week, but we gotta have one. Just on the grounds of A, we already skipped a week, and B, looking into how little has changed with the Razer Blade and how much it cost. Mainly its cost made me go, and I had to go, wow, how much could you get for how much they're charging on the Razer Blade? So I had to look it up. I had to try. And we're gonna go with another another company that's also well known for overpricing their gear. We're gonna go with Alienware. Now I know some of you are gonna go, oh, Alienware, oh, they're terrible. Oh, shut up. Nobody likes you. Anyway, we're going to compare the new Razer Blade, the new being in massive quotes, because this thing is still running on Haswell processors. Who knows if they're even going to make a Skylake one? Part of me wants them to, just to see if they can try and get their act together and get the price down. But another part of me would kind of cheer if the Razer Blade just kind of died and went away forever. It's just not that good of a product. But we're going to compare. I have a 14-inch Razer Blade versus a 15-inch Alienware. Now, right off the bat, let's just get one thing out of the way. Yes, the Alienware is bigger. Yes, it's thicker. And yes, it's heavier. Thicker, it's about twice as thick. And it's a 15-inch laptop instead of a 14-inch. The weight might be close, actually. Let me see if I can find the weight real quick. And also, surprisingly enough, the cooling system is pretty much exactly the same. The Alienware 15 they used to go and have the processor and the graphic card under the motherboard. So you took out the bottom panel, you have direct access to it. They went top mounted and then did kind of a cross heat pipe sharing system so that both of the fans are working to cool down both the parts simultaneously. None of this one cooling the other sort of stuff. And I used to criticize that, but on a system like this where the processor is a lot cooler running than the graphic card, it actually makes sense. Because the graphic card's going to pump out more heat, and that way you got two fans cooling that, plus the CPU, which isn't pumping out as much heat, compared to just one on each. It sounds like it's less efficient. It actually is the bottom line. But wait, I'm having trouble finding the weight. Here we go. The weight... Oh, wow. Okay, the weight is a lot bigger. It's almost double. 7 pounds compared to 4. Actually, what was the exact weight? It's 7.07 from the Alienware versus 4.19 on the Razer Blade. So the Razer Blade is going to be lighter. If that's crucial to you, then go for the Razer Blade. But here's a spoiler for you. It doesn't matter. It's a gaming laptop. Performance is key. So let's compare the two. I've got an Intel Core i7 quad-core Haswell processor, 2.6 gigahertz on that one, versus me scrolling all the way up to the top to where I have all the specs, versus a Core i7, and they lie about the clock speed. They say up to 3.5 with turbo. So, because Alienware is kind of a douche and not giving me the exact processor, we're going to go to the Intel Arc. And Arc says that it is 2.6 gigahertz. So, the processors are almost exactly the same. The only difference is that the one in the Alienware is newer because the Razer Blade is outdated. The graphic cards are exactly the same. A GeForce GTX 7080M let's try that again without completely ruining it. The Razer Blade does not have a 780. It has a 970M. The Alienware has the exact same graphic card. I'm willing to bet the Alienware is going to have higher performance, just on the grounds that because of the thickness, the heatsink is thicker, the fans have more surface area, and therefore the cooling is going to be more efficient on the Alienware, versus the Razer Blade where everything is much more narrow, there isn't as much surface area for the fans to cool, so the cooling is not going to be as efficient. So, I'm willing to bet there's going to be a slight edge on the Alienware, but I don't think it's going to be enough to matter, or it could be a game changer. It's hard to say because I don't have two of them in front of me. And we got the same chipset. Well, almost the same. Well, I can't. No, it's not the same. It's the same grade of chipset. One is Haswell based, the other Skylake based. So let's ignore the chipsets. We've got 8 gigs of dual channel DDR3L, which most likely means soldered on. No upgrading there. I think it is. I can't remember now. For the sake of argument, let's say it's not. Feel free to look that up later. It still doesn't matter because I still wouldn't recommend getting a Razer blade. 8 gigs there on my Alienware. I think I went with the lowest it could have, which was 8 gigs of DDR4. So, pretty much the same there. The difference between DDR3 and DDR4, you will never be able to notice. Let's be perfectly honest. We've got 3 USB 3 ports on the Razer blade. I have a number of USB ports on the... Okay, where is it? I have 3 USB port 3s on here too as well. HDMI port. HDMI port. Both of them have HDMI ports, except the one in the Alienware is both in and out. So, let's be honest, it means the exact same thing. You're not going to use it as an input. That's kind of a gimmick that Alienware puts on, let's be perfectly honest. And the same sort of generic stuff, blah, 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 blah. And that's pretty much it. Oh, the storage. It doesn't say the storage in the specifications because it says the storage in the title for the Razer Blade. The Razer Blade has just a single 256 gig solid state, whereas the Alienware, the one I spec'd out, has a 256 gig PCI Express solid state drive, the same as the Razer Blade, and to boot with that, a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM SATA storage drive. You see that, iMac? You too can put a 7200 RPM hard drive in something and have it be laptop sized. Oh my god! I can't get over that. There's no reason 5400 RPM hard drive should exist, and Apple still does it. Because reasons. Anyway, the price. So I've gotten as close as I could with the Alienware 15 as I could with the Razer Blade, obviously. I've just gone over everything. The new Razer Blade is $1,999.99, so $2,000. The Alienware 15R2 is $1,799.99, so $1,800. $200 cheaper than Razer. And this is a company that is known for overcharging for parts. And here's another spoiler for you. The quality is going to be the same. In fact, you're more than likely going to get a failure from the Razer than you are the Alienware, just on the grounds that much power is packed into a much smaller space, so it can't cool as efficiently. In fact, one thing I did notice with the Razer Blade is that the only place the intake vents are is underneath, directly at the fans. Now, Alienware does this too, but Alienware also, the way they mount their bottom, allows the laptop to draw air in from under the laptop. It raises it up a bit. Razer does this as well, but it's only a fraction of a millimeter. It's really negligible. And that can choke it a little. But the bottom line is that when you're cooling anything, the surface area that the fan is blowing across matters the most. By going with a thin form factor like this and trying to pack this much power in it, you start running into the problem that it can heat up. Just try touching the area right above the keyboard of any MacBook Pro that's running. You will feel the heat build up there because that's where the heat sinks are. And those fans are struggling to cool that off because the heat sinks are so small and they didn't put very big fans in there. That's just how it is. So, just go with the Alienware. It's going to be $200 cheaper. But do not go for the 13-inch. While I was doing this, I did try to spec up an Alienware 13 to meet the Alienware 15, or to meet the Razer Blade. And I couldn't do it for a number of reasons. One, the graphic card could not be upgraded past a GTX 960M. So right off the bat, the Razer is going to be more machine for the money, and that's not a good comparison. When you're doing a comparison like this, you want to get it as close to each other as possible. so that you can say that, this is how much each one costs from them, and you save $200 getting the same thing from this company. That's why I do it all the time with the Macs, and that's going to be the case here as well. I can't do that with the 13-inch. On top of that, the 13-inch only has options for dual cores, and only ultra-low voltage dual cores. In the gaming world, you want as much power as you can get. Granted, the CPU is not as important anymore. The rig I'm using right now for gaming uses processors that are pretty much ancient. They're from all the way back in 2008, but they still hold up just fine because they're really high-end processors from back then. To right off the bat start yourself off with some dual-core ultra-low voltage processors, it doesn't matter whether it has a Core i5 or Core i7 name in front of it. It's still inferior. Flat out. You're going to notice it, and it's going to age very quickly. So, that being said, the other reasons why I wouldn't go for the Alienware 13. For starters, they use 5400 RPM hard drives. Why? You already showed on the 15-inch you're using the same size hard drives, 2.5-inch drives, at 7200 RPM. Why would you then intentionally use slower drives like this? It makes no sense. Oh, I take that back. I know exactly why. They're using hybrid drives on here. So let me rant about that for a minute. Hybrid drives are these terrible contraptions made by Seagate. You have a little bit of solid-state technology on the board of the hard drive, and this acts as a cache. In this case, an 8GB cache. The science behind it is that your most frequently used files are put in the cache, and then the slower hard drive stores the rest of it. You want to know why this doesn't work? Because computers already have a cache. It's called RAM. And here's another spoiler for you. Computers have a metric ton of it. Good lord, do we have a ton of it. I have 8 gigs of it right now as the default on here. How high can I go? I can go up to 16 gigs on a 13-inch little computer that's meant to be portable. On the 15-incher, how much RAM can I go up to? I can go up to 16 gigs as well. Okay. Still, though, it doesn't work because you have much more efficient. You have a much more efficient cache in the RAM. It makes no sense to use a hybrid drive. Just flat out. There's more efficient ways. We'd much rather just go with a faster hard drive. Why bother with this gimmicky cache stuff when half my file might load quicker and half of it might not, or I just have to pray that the stupid retarded controller on the hard drive decided that my Word file was important enough to be on the cache, when I could just have a faster hard drive to begin with. It's so stupid. It was a cute idea at the time, but it just seems mind-blowingly retarded now, in a day where we can stuff up to 16 gigs of RAM into a machine and just not care. If you really want your stuff to load faster, here's an idea. Go with a solid-state drive. Just flat out. None of this hybrid stuff. None of this super fast hard drive stuff. If you really, really care about the boot speed, just go solid-state. And if you need the storage, just go with a decent hard drive. None of this 5400 RPM stuff where I can go and make lunch by the time it loads. Although, if you did give me the option to put a Velociraptor in the laptop, I would say the average person don't do it. But if you're a tech enthusiast like me and likes to giggle at strange noises, by all means, please do it, because it'll sound like a small lawnmower going on in the inside of your laptop. It's kind of funny. Like, really funny. I kind of want to do that now. I'm going to go find a Velociraptor. Oh, the other reason why I wouldn't go for Alienware 13... a lot of the cool lights that are on the 13 are gone on this one. So, one of the main reasons you'd buy an Alienware is not here on this one. And the price is way high. It starts at $950 for an Alienware 13. But to get an Alienware 15, it's... what? $250 higher. And you start at quad core. With a better graphic card. With more RAM. Why does the 13 even exist? Actually, no. I think I know. I think I can just answer my own question. I just need to take a look at... oh, they are using a dual fan system to the 13. That's neat. Alright, now as I continue scrolling down and try not to be distracted, I want the size of this thing. This thing weighs as much as the Razer blade. And that's right. That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this one be the comparison against the Razer blade, because it's closer to its size. Its thickness is 1 inch, 1.06 inches. Height on this one, so it's a little... it's only slightly thicker than the Razer blade. You know what, actually, if I were you, I would definitely go and get the Alienware 13 over the Razer blade. I actually would. I know I said earlier I wouldn't get the 13-inch under any circumstances, but... you know what, if lightness is that important to you and you just want some halfway decent power, by all means, go for the 13-inch over the Razer blade. But if you want a good gaming laptop, go with the 15-inch Alienware. But, you know, that's just versus Alienware and Razer. That is not, by any stretch of the imagination, Alienware versus Asus. Or Falcon Northwest. Or, well, not iBuyPower. iBuyPower is... I don't know. They might be good, but they've always felt sketch to me. And I have a hard time reviewing their stuff when I have that bias already ingrained in me. And so you can go for that. I'm not going to do anything with iBuyPower. I will look at Asus. I will look at what HP has to offer. And I will look at what like Falcon Northwest and Main Gear have. Though Main Gear also just kind of... Main Gear also twerks me the wrong way, because I look at what they offer, and I can, like, tell they just go like, oh, this is our revolutionary patented design, and it's clearly a Silverstone case every time, and it just annoys me. In fact, I'm just going to do Falcon Northwest, because really when push comes to shove, all those sort of gaming companies just use Clevo laptops like Alienware used to do back in the day. So, I mean, a Falcon Northwest laptop's going to be the same as a Main Gear laptop. It's going to be the same as a iBuyPower laptop. They're all going to be the same because they all get their stuff from Clevo. The end. Anyway, I'm going to be right back. I have one last thing to say about Apple today. Just because I haven't really talked about them today at all. And that's where I stand on them. And also an interesting article that was brought to my attention. And how it has been easily misinterpreted. I'll be right back.
How did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights, the stars.
I have had a lot of different computers. I've had my hands on a lot of different computers that I've used. I've started off in a Dell Inspiron that was, it was a piece of garbage, but it was my piece of garbage. I got that thing as a graduation present, and it was a bad laptop, but it was my bad laptop. I loved that thing. And then I moved up to an even worse HP, and then that thing got replaced several times under warranty, then to a gateway piece of garbage. And then I was in a MacBook Pro for quite some time. And then I migrated over to a Dell Precision, which is a very good laptop. And now my current laptop is an Alienware. On the side, I also have my hands on a lot of used off-lease equipment. Quite a bit of it. I've had Dell Latitudes, I've had HP EliteBooks, I've had MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs, MacBooks, a lot of MacBooks, Lenovo ThinkPads, Lenovo IdeaPads, you name it, I've probably had my hands on it, and I could actually probably even tell you what the guts of it looked like. I've gone through a lot of different equipment, and a lot of it's been for work, a lot of it's been for fun, and there's that. So, I have nothing against Mac OS. I would never go back to it, just on the grounds of it was very confusing to me to try and customize the operating system. I like kind of shaping the OS to be exactly as I want it to feel. On my current workstation, I have gauges on my left monitor that have a CPU meter, a GPU meter, a network meter. I've got the main taskbar hidden away on the main screen, and the left screen is where all the various icons are and all the different shortcuts are. It's a nice setup, and I'm used to it now. On my laptop, that one runs Windows 10 now, and I used to have gauges on it, but it's kind of set up in a way that I know where everything is, almost. I'm still kind of molding myself into it. On Mac OS, that wasn't really there. I could still do some basic things, like the dock, I could move to the side or have it auto-hide, I could move it to the left. I couldn't put it to the top where the almighty Apple bar lives. But there's that. GPU meters and such, they had to be on their own little widgets page. At least I think they're called widgets. And that was kind of But if I wanted on my desktop, that's not possible. There might have been a rain meter for Mac, I never found one. Which that's an application that would have done exactly what I just said. You couldn't change the color of the dock at all, and after a while of looking at metallic gray that was kind of reflective, it just got so boring after a while. And eventually I ended up just hiding the dock, just because having that reflective dock stare back at you constantly in a color you don't like, it was just, whatever. And that's pretty much how it went with Macs. Eventually, a lot of the programs that I used, I couldn't use in Mac. I could only use it in Windows. I did boot camp that Mac, so I had Windows and Mac OS. But the hardware was pretty much not up to par. And I ended up moving out of it into another machine where it had the hardware that I wanted. And that's one thing that really annoys me with Mac right now. We should be moving forward as technology gets better. When a new Dell or a new Alienware or a new HP comes out, they always look to see how much faster can we get, how much more power can we get, how much longer of battery life we can get. They always look to try and up all of those. In the midstream line, they try and up everything. In the enthusiast line, they try to up the power and say screw battery life and power consumption. And on the low-end line, they try to up power consumption by a ton. In the Apple world, they don't. They're satisfied with the status quo. They had a 12-core Mac Pro before that was dual socket using 2 hexa-core processors. Now that we have 12 core Xeons, do they move up with the rest of the professional world and go for 24 cores? No. They switch down to a one-socket system so they can go, see, we have 12 cores again, and instead make it smaller. And in the end, less practical. The Mac Pro, you have to hook up your hard drives if you want additional storage. A company I know called Total Fitness DVDs, they use a Mac Pro as their video editing rig. They also use it to burn their clips onto the DVD itself. Not to the DVDs they sell, but onto a separate DVD, so that they can use it as a sample for other customers. So they can just go like, here's our library, and they just pop it in, and they're off to the races. They can't do that on these things because you have to get an external now. If I were to go there and set up what they have right now with their one cheese grater tower, it would be a mess. It would just be like a rat's nest or a spaghetti plate of wires coming out of the back of this one black cylinder to do what they have now. To get their multiple hard drive arrays. To get their dual super drives that they use. It just, no. God, no. Plus, I priced out a while ago because they did ask me what would be the cost to set this up. And, God, it was like $8,000. $8,000 for what basically amounts to a Mac video editing rig with some DVD drives and extra hard drives. That's it. It was gross. I'm not sure if they'd be better off now going with an iMac. I'd have to look it up and price it out again. But they'd be in the same boat. They'd have to hook up external hard drives. They'd have to hook up external super drives. So, probably not. The only advantage is that they have a bigger screen. Though, then again, with where they have the screen for the Mac Pro positioned, I don't think they could even fit the 27-inch iMac there. I'll have to check the next time they have me over doing maintenance. Anyway, the one last thing. I got a text from my father. And he was worried about this one CNET article about discontinuing Windows 7 and 8. So I read through the article, and it's kind of oddly worded. It basically starts at updated late October. Microsoft Windows Lifecycle Fact Sheet shows that October 31st, 2016 is the end of sales with PCs for Windows pre-installed for both Windows 7 Professional and Windows 8.1. So, that means if I were to get a new computer starting on October 31st, 2016, it has to have Windows 10 on it. This is also several months after the cutoff date for free Windows 10. For those who aren't aware, and by now if you're not aware, you clearly must be running Windows XP, because everyone running Windows 10 has had pop-ups stating this constantly in the lower left-hand corner of their screen every time they fire up their machine. If you are on Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, you can upgrade to Windows 10 for free. Period. You can go right now, it'll download the operating system, it'll install the new operating system, and you'll be running Windows 10. This is the entire operating system. This is not just like some subsection of it. It's not a web browser that's being updated. It's not your Office software that's being updated. It's the entire operating system is being upgraded to Windows 10. Excuse me there. I'm not sure if that got caught on mic. My apologies if it did. But anyway, right now, if you just use basic software, you have nothing really ancient, anything that's legacy-based, or any sort of old pieces of software that you rely on day to day, you should go and upgrade to Windows 10. The only other exception to this is if you just upgraded to Windows 7 and you're still not fully situated into it, get into Windows 7 first, kind of get familiar with Windows 7. That way it's not going to be a complete shock when you switch to Windows 10. Windows 10 is kind of laid out very close to what 7 is, except the menu is kind of, it has like a little bit of the splash screen from Windows 8 on the right side of the start menu. And you can actually customize that start menu however you basically want. The first thing I do, though, after you've upgraded to Windows 10, is uninstall Candy Crush. This is one thing that actually really ticks me off with Windows 10. By default, Candy Crush is installed. Candy Crush is the cancer of games. You want it gone. Destroy it. Kill it. Get rid of it. Just make it go away. Granted, it's harmless if you don't open it. But just make it go away. There is no reason for Candy Crush to be on this machine, and I actually have to give a big middle finger to Apple for making a deal with Candy Crush to have it pre-installed on all versions of Windows 10. That, to me, is just a big no-no. Because if I install a fresh copy of an operating system, I want it to be just the operating system. As pure as it can be, let me deal with installing what I want on it. Don't install any of this BS. And that's one thing that actually really ticks me off about Best Buy computers as well. Though, it's expected there. You get it pre-installed, and those sort of companies make deals with them. This isn't me going over to Best Buy and knowing right off the bat that, yeah, it's a new computer from Dell. You know, Flippin' McAfee made a contract with Dell to go have their antivirus put in as a free trial to make me buy it. This is just flat out the full game, not a trial of it, not a shortcut to install it. The full game, pre-installed in Windows 10. Yuck. Gross. Make it go away. And if you play Candy Crush, just stop. Just stop. No good can come of this. If you want reasons for why you should not play Candy Crush, go look up on YouTube Honest Game Trailers Candy Crush. The guy brings up pretty much every single solitary point why you should not be playing Candy Crush. Go play Bejeweled instead. Yeah, sure, it's owned by EA now, but you know what? It's going to be better than playing at Candy. Just don't do it. What was I ranting about before our Candy Crush got brought up? That's like a trigger for me. Someone mentioned Candy Crush and I'll just go off ranting about all the terrible things Candy Crush does and watch me then struggle not to swear like a sailor about it. What was I talking about? Oh yeah! Okay, so this whole article says that after October 31st, 2016, any new computers will have to have Windows 10 pre-installed. That's no shock. That happens every single time. In fact, I'm actually kind of surprised there are computers that are still being sold with Windows 7. However, there is an exception to this, and that's business computers. This is something that started with Windows Vista, in that business computers can have downgrades. You can go and get, like for the longest time, when Windows 8 came out, you could get like a Dell Precision M6800 mobile workstation with Windows 8.1 with a pre-installed downgrade to 7. They say that because they have to have it with Windows 8.1 in it, but the contract also says that they can install it with Windows 7 instead, but call it a downgrade. So, if you are a professional user getting a new computer, you will still be able to get a downgrade to Windows 7. If you are a consumer going out and getting an Alienware, or an HP Pavilion, or an IdeaPad, that will have Windows 10 on it and you have no other option. That's just the norm. There's no surprise there. And honestly, Windows 10 is just fine. I have it on my Alienware right now, and it's working perfectly fine. I'm still getting used to where some of the little this and that's are. But honestly, for someone who doesn't know a lot, trying to find various little functions is actually easier. They have it written out in plain text. It's not like knowing, oh, defrag's an administration tool. I have to find it under administration tools, under the extended version of the control panel, under the start menu. It's not like a 7-process thing. It's just listed as defrag. Also, don't defrag your computer anymore. Your computer does it automatically, and if you have a solid state drive, you shouldn't be defragging it at all. Just that. We're pretty much past the point of needing to defrag anything. That's kind of now an archaic ritual. Kind of like listening to the grind of the floppy disk. Oh, I miss the grind of the floppy disk. Anyway, basically the whole article just goes through and says, you know, after October 31st of 2016, basically after Election Day, which is going to be basically around the same point, you're going to, if you buy a new computer, it's going to have Windows 10 on it. You have no other option. That's basically all it means. If you are worried about updates for Windows 7, if you plan on sticking in Windows 7 for as long as possible, you will still get support and updates for Windows 7 until January 14th, 2020. So you still have 4 years to go. Honestly, if I were you, I would upgrade now. Or at least upgrade before June of 2016. Because there really is no reason not to unless you just have a really, really weird piece of software that your work relies on. If you're just playing the games and putzing around and browsing the internet, just upgrade to Windows 10 and you'll be fine. If you're worried about things spying on you, because I know there's a whole bunch of features about recommending various things to you, because the OS does have a few bits of spyware pre-installed on it that kind of monitor you. It's not that big a deal. It still kind of ranks high on the creep factor. But the bottom line is that all technology now does it. It's sad that all technology now does it. But don't let that be the part that stops you. I mean, if you're really going to be the tinfoil hat wearer, just stick with your DOS system, connected to absolutely nothing, while the rest of us continue using technology. That's really just all there is to it. There's no kill switch installed in Windows 10. There is a piece of software in there that, if you are looking up child pornography, you will be reported. That is a rumor I've heard a lot. I don't know if that's active. That's about the creepiest thing that is actually in this. Anyway, my screensaver just engaged, so I'm going to take that as the computer's way to tell me that I should stop talking and finally end this episode. So, thank you for listening. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to email me at eaglefalcontech@gmail.com. I'll get to your questions as soon as I can. I might even reply to you, or I'll probably answer them on air here. But until then, I'll see you next week. Take care, and seriously, if it's 2 a.m., just go to bed. Just go to bed. Oh, right, the Packer game. I talked a little bit last week about how the Packer game I just recorded before the Packer game started. They're going to do better tomorrow. They just will. I guarantee it. Oh yeah, I'm recording this Saturday.